Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy! Hey folks, this is Bill, Alan, and Dennis, as usual, Ages of Rock podcast. And this is episode number 272. And this week we're going to talk about
do not adjust your sets, folks. You were thinking you were going to see Bill, Dennis, and Alan. We've got news for you. You've got me, David Cathy, Bryan Harris, and Bill Elam. We're the AARP of rock, and we are taking over. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey. David and Bryan. There, I've got everybody's name right the first time. So
yeah, you're better than Alan.
I'm one up on Alan. Hey. Wow. How did we get into these guys' rooms, man? Bill has got quite a nice spread here. I'm really digging it.
I like Dennis's too.
Yeah, it looks well. Yeah, I'd like to go through that record shelf myself, but you know,
I'm just looking for the cat.
I've been snooping, man. This is awesome. Bill must be a DVD collector though, because I found Scooby-Doo Meets Kiss,
nice,
and Remedy that has Ace Frehley in it, which is interesting. But then it gets really kind of weird because I've got Deliverance.
Oh,
has the most remarkable collection of midget porn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, hey, way to go, Bill Algie. You guys find anything interesting in the rooms? Dave
Alan
sniffing for the cat.
Yeah. Yeah, Alan kind of told me to stay away from the left door. And so I kind of am taking his advice because knowing Alan the way I know him.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get kicked off here. Yes, this is the AoRP takeover with the AARP, except for me because I'm I'm the young end of the bunch here. Anybody got any news items for the week? Everything I looked up in news was like, I saw a thing is about David Ellefson, and it turns out it was like 2 months old. So,
I heard that Paul Stanley said something about he looked at his calendar and he said for the next 12 months, he's booked. I don't know if that's all Kiss dates or if that's him with his Soul Station, but he just kind of left it open. But no, he didn't say anything about a ending date of this end of the road tour that I know Brian's going back to.
I think they bit their tongue when they announced that on the boat 2 years ago,
Yeah.
Because that would have happened like what, last week?
It was on the
a couple days ago.
A couple days ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going September 2nd. But
that's Dayton, right?
Yep.
I haven't made up my mind on if I'm going to Dayton yet or not, but I'll let you guys know if I do. I was going to go see Louis Prima, and it turns out that Louis Prima in Cleveland and Kiss and Dayton are the same day.
Oh, boy.
So haven't made up my mind on that one yet. Let's move on to album acquisitions since we don't have any news. Bryan, you got anything? I know you guys just had some record store day purchases, right?
Yep. I waited in line. My local shop, they just became a record store day shop starting last Black Friday. And I'm the first one in line. And so back in July,
he camps out.
Yeah, I camp out. I get there like at 6:15 Friday evening and camp out till 8 Sunday or Saturday morning. I get the albums that I want. So, but anyway, this time around, I picked up the Circle.
Hold it closer to your chest, Bryan. Put it like right up to your chest. There you go. That's a little bit, Sammy Hagar in the Circle.
Yep, Sammy Hagar Circle. Picture disc, and it's got Heavy Metal live and Little White Lies live.
Cool. I saw them in Huber Heights a couple years ago. They were really good.
Yeah, I haven't got a chance to catch the circle yet, but I'd really, really like to. And then I got Queen with Adam Lambert.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
It's a Live Around the World EP, and it includes a 7-inch of.
Bring it back.
There you go.
It includes a 7-inch of Freddie Mercury doing "Love Me Like There's No Tomorrow" on pink vinyl.
Brian May just had a birthday yesterday or the day before. I'm a third shifter. I don't know what day it is. So
And I picked
74.
I picked up MSG Live, or the Michael Schenker Group Live. Anyway,
I love Michael Schenker.
yeah. And this is all from 1980, so it's got UFO and the first MSG album on it.
Oh, nice.
Oh, neat.
And I picked up a repress of Rolling Stones Hot Rocks.
Good, super album. I love that album. That was the first Rolling Stones album I ever listened to.
Yeah, the playlist on these two records is just like amazing. Just really, really good.
I probably heard that album when I was, I don't know, 7 or 8. So it'd been about 78. It's remarkable that my friend's parents were just down the hall while me and their kid was spinning Brown Sugar and Honky Tonk Women. Stuff like a couple 7-year-olds getting it's like, oh, okay, so this is what it's all about. Yeah, this sounds fun.
And
Good
I got
album.
one more. Because I was at the front of the line, I was able to procure
The DGs.
and my shop had 21 copies, and I think they were all gone by the 25th person.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yep. And
But there was people the night before posting them up on eBay for $100 a piece.
yeah, well, I think right now the minimum is about $150 a piece.
Yeah, that's
I'll get the download.
Album. Yeah, for a $26 album. So, yep, that was my record store day pickups.
How about you, Dave?
well, I got a couple, not as many as he does, but I did get Mammoth.
Good record. Good record.
I
I've
was
heard about
awesome.
it, 2/3 of it. So,
And I got Bill's favorite record.
hey.
I got this just for Bill.
Bill Algie.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's
And
that's one of Bill
also-
Elam's favorites.
It's my favorite
Wanted to
album.
reiterate a show that the boys did with Danny Zalesko, a promoter. I got
Oh,
his
sweet.
book, and this book is really, really good. I'm about 25 chapters in, and he met a lot of interesting people, and how he got his start. It's really a good book. You need to go check their show out on that with him.
That's a good show.
It was, and order that book. It's well worth the $50.
Awesome. Well, I didn't go record store day shopping, and actually, I've held off on buying records for recently because I've got a stack of like 35 of them that I haven't listened to. I've actually I'm in the Third Man Vault Club, and so that means every quarter I get a big box set package, and I am 2 box sets behind on listening to what I got. But 2 of my more recent ones is I follow a YouTube page for the Spin Me Round store in Easton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And they released on their own record label, Reality Suite. These guys are kind of like a little bit somewhere between Paramore and Hailstorm. Really good heavy music, great female lead singer. It came with a autographed poster from the band.
Cool.
And this was actually released on Record Store Day. It was a pretty cool package. I had it shipped to me though. And then for the AoRP related ones, I got the new Accept album.
I haven't got that
Phil
one yet.
Schaus. And I haven't even broken the seal on this yet.
Oh,
The occupation of my household's been a little bit different where I don't get to my record player as much as I'd like.
Yeah.
So I haven't been playing very many records, but that's about to change. I'm about to do some rearranging around here.
Well, don't
So-
tell Bill.
Yeah.
I'm going to take all of his midget porn home with me. Well, okay. And we had a suggested topic from David, I believe, that I think it was originally the songs that you hate to hear on the radio or you're
Well,
least likely to turn.
What it is the songs that you grew up with, and you know you love the groups, you love the song, but you're tired of hearing it played on radio all the time. And it's
Okay.
ones that when they come on, either shuffle your iPod or turn the station. And just,
Okay,
you
well,
know, and
mine's
no
slightly
particular,
different because you can't read it, but mine says most hated songs for AoRP. So these
Yeah,
are
it
songs.
works.
These are songs that I've heard on the radio so many times that they, no matter how good they were when they came out,
right. Well, that's about the same
tired
thing.
of them. So yeah, that would apply to probably at least the three of my. We have top 5 here today. No Joey Casada involved, but we're doing our top 5
Right.
on that. Well, since Dave gave the explanation and I gave my edit, Bryan, why don't you kick us off with your number 5?
All right. Sure. My number 5 would be Stairway to Heaven. Just a great classical song. We all know it.
Backwards and forwards.
Yeah. Yeah, because it gets
Definitely backwards.
yeah. I know growing up in Southern California, Memorial Day weekend, our big radio station, KLOS, would do like the top 100 songs, rock songs or whatever. Stairway to Heaven was always number 1.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I love the song. It's just, I don't want to hear it anymore. If it comes on, I
agree with you because it's on my list too.
Yeah.
Well, it's
luckily I
not
have
on my-
Sirius radio, so I don't have to hear it a whole lot anymore.
It's not on my list, but one thing, it is a great song, but it is tired. And it's tired to the point where I don't even want to read an article about it because after all what it's been 30 years of hubbub about was it plagiarism or this, that, and the other. And it's just like, I don't even want to read this story anymore. So I end up swiping past that. Now, typically, if it does come on the radio, it depends on like if I'm at work, I'll let it play. But if I'm in the car or it happens to come up on a shuffle or something like that, yeah, I'll be more likely to skip it.
Yeah.
All righty, my number 5. I love this song when it first came out. I still like it from a great band. But my number 5 is Hotel California. I have heard that enough. And it's one of those songs that, like I say, you heard it on classic rock stations. Still here in my city, they've got a classic rock station. You hear it all the time. And I'm done with it.
Yeah, that's one of those songs that reminds me of summer whenever I hear it. But I agree. I didn't have it on my list, but it was really under consideration because I've just heard it enough.
Now for me, I actually got tired of it through the 80s and stuff. But the one thing that kind of refreshed it for me is when the Eagles got back together.
Yeah.
And they did the Hell Freezes Over thing, and they did it with that kind of like a bongo lick behind the song, and they changed the whole pattern of the song. So it kind of renewed it a little bit for me then. I would actually rather hear that than the original version. But then, in the age of the internet where you hear all the hypes about this, that, and the other, Don Felder was the guy behind that song. And from what I read, I don't know if it's fact or not, but it seems like Don Felder got done pretty dirty when it comes to the Eagles.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still makes money off of it or whatever. That's their business. But it just kind of turned me off almost on the general for the Eagles.
Right.
And I actually do have a member of the Eagles coming up in my list. But yeah, I mean, I still like to hear that alternate version of it though. And I can put up with, maybe a few times a year hearing Hotel California.
Yeah, but not all the time.
No. I remember when TUE and Dayton would play it, every weekend. It's like, oh, it's a block of the Eagles, and it was always Hotel California.
Always in there.
So we'll go to my number 5. Mine's a little bit newer song, sort of. Mine's from about 1995. Mine is Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden.
Oh, can't get enough of that song. That's a good song.
I'm totally burnt on it. I was probably burnt on it more by the video than I was at actually playing on the radio, because now the radio does play it a lot. And even on A to Z radio, the biggest variety of rock, pop, and country music, we play it too. But
Shameless plug.
Absolutely. But the video where they did all the morphing to people's faces and stuff, it just got really tired of seeing. And I had little kids at the time too. So the kids would be watching this video and they kind of freak out when they see all that shit.
Traumatize the kids.
Yeah. We won't even go to Where's Waldo, because I had a Where's Waldo thing where the scary face popped up and it freaked out my kids for years. They don't even want to hear Where's Waldo. The Soundgarden video kind of tripped them out. So it got to the point where, okay, it's on, so I'm flipping it. I'd have to turn it to something else because, especially with my autistic son, if he sees, he's got sensitive points like that where he freaks out when the dinosaur yells in Toy Story, so he can't even watch Toy Story. But I just kind of turn it on. So, and I got into Soundgarden because like Jesus Christ Pose and Outshine and Rusty Cage and all that stuff. And it just seemed like Black Hole Sun was kind of the beginning of the end of those kind of songs, where they were more slower, darker. And I'm really not big on slower, period. But that's where I came out with that one.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the video aspect. It's not one that I heard on the radio a whole lot. But so I haven't got burnt out on it on the song yet, but I agree. Back when the video was, especially when it had just came out,
right?
Like MTV, back when MTV showed videos all the time.
So Bryan, you're number 4.
No, what about? Oh, you just gave yours, yeah.
AARP, folks.
I hate giving this one, but I don't want to hear it anymore. More Than a Feeling by Boston.
I can relate to that a bit. Yeah.
I mean, that album, that song are just, probably maybe in the top 10 all-time rock, especially for a debut album. But More Than a Feeling, I'm burnt on it.
Yeah.
And that's another one where kind of the backstories get me because, where Boston was always put forth like, oh, it's this great band from Boston and all that stuff. And when it was really just one guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, and people get on other bands about not necessarily telling the story the straight way it was. But More Than a Feeling, it's a great song, but there was so many other great songs on it too. That's the one the Boston song I can go forever hearing over and over again is Smokin'.
Yes.
Smokin's a great tune.
Yes.
I'd rather hear it More Than a Feeling any day.
All right. I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this one. Being I'm a big Kiss fan to the point now, I'm tired of rock and roll all night.
I knew you were saying that. I knew you were saying that. That was my number 1.
Who's a Kiss fan anyway? Oh, wait.
Well, yeah. And like Bryan, me and Bryan ourselves, both of us have been card carrying members since 1974 when our first show. But, I've been to so many concerts, heard it, and the rock stations here, they don't play very much Kiss, but when they do, that's the staple that they go to. And it just gets to the point where I've heard it. All right, let's go listen to something else. The song, the anthem, the live version is, killer. Studio version wasn't that great, but the live version is the one that they play on the radio all the time. And I just, when it comes on, I have to flip it to another station or hit the shuffle button.
Well, and it's on every compilation of theirs.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I guarantee we've heard it a million times in our lives. And another reason, well, this kind of goes away off the topic, but when they play it in concert, I hate it because you know the show's over.
Yes.
Yeah.
And through the years, especially now as we get closer to the end, so yeah, I just, like I said, that was my number one, what I'll kind of refer to later, but yeah, I agree with you.
And the, you know, like Dave said, that the studio version really isn't all that. And if you're listening to it, it's kind of like, okay, how many times are they going to sing this chorus at the end of this? Because it just kind of, you have the two verses and then it's, I want to rock and roll night and party every day for like another 2.5 minutes or whatever the length of the track is. But the most interesting one I can remember of hearing rock and roll all night, and I'm with you, Bryan, I get emotional because you're used to it being the last song, but you associate it with being the last song and the end of the show. But was it Hot in the Shade where they did it in the middle of the set?
I think it was Hot in the Shade tour. Yeah. I know. I remember being blown away when they played it. It's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. Cause they finished with Black Diamond. And it's like, I saw that show in Dayton at Hare Arena, and it's kind of funny because the song is just kind of like the single version without all the spectacle. Yeah. Because they weren't shooting off the confetti and all of that stuff during that mid-set version of it. So you kind of go, well, yeah, it's an okay song, but is it really that okay? Or are you just used to it being attached to all that bombast and all the fireworks and all this stuff, you know? And that's like the one at the end of Dubai, you know, it was great when they ended Dubai, but you almost wonder, it's like, well, Black Diamond was pretty damn cool at the end of the show too. Yeah. At the Hot in the Shade show. So, I kind of tune out rock and roll all night. Yeah, of course it's probably the one that I'm most likely to skip on a greatest hits. I don't think A to Z Radio plays it. I'm not even positive.
Another shameless plug.
Yeah. Well, we play Unholy a lot. We have Unholy I think Unholy was actually the first song that A to Z ever played when we went on the air.
Oh, cool.
Al would have to confirm that for me, but yeah, I can understand that. But then, you know, when you think about putting it in that middle of the set, it's like, well, okay, it's an okay song, but then you've gotten so used to identifying with the confetti and the fireworks and all that stuff and the balloons. So,
oh yeah.
All right, number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me. I hope I get like all out agreement on this one. My number 4 is Scar Tissue by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. This is probably the song that turned me off completely from the Chili Peppers. When they came out with Higher Ground, it was a pretty happening song. Of course, it was a cover of Stevie Wonder. And when Give It Away came out, even as questionable as the video could have been, I really like that a lot of the songs off of that album. But when Scar Tissue came out, it's almost one that I didn't like immediately the moment it came out. And they just beat you over the head with it. And Scar Tissue, I wish you saw. No, not a minute, know it all. It's like, come on, man. I mean, Ace Frehley's rhyme scheme is better than that, you know. And Ace Frehley rhymes every single word. But it just, that was a song that like the Black Hole Sun did. You know, it's pretty much the one that turned me off from the Chili Peppers altogether. And I really couldn't care if I ever see the Chili Peppers or hear them again.
I never was a fan of the Chili Peppers.
I guess living in Southern California, big Chili Pepper fan.
Yeah.
I kind of burnt myself out on their music. There's a few bands I've done that.
We had number 3. I hate to do this because I hate to say this, but rest in peace, Mr. Robin Steinbrent of Kansas. But Carry On My Wayward Son was that I have heard way too much.
Alan Tate has just filed the paperwork to take your AoRP card away.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I
That
love
is
Kansas.
Alan's favorite Kansas song.
Oh,
I said, but yeah, haven't you heard Portrait? Portrait's a hell of a lot better.
but
Get
no,
him
I
out.
just
But
you know,
anyway, yeah.
growing up, I heard that song all the time, and you still hear it today. And it's just one of those ones where I can't listen to it anymore. But I love Kansas, love a lot of their songs. You could say "Dust in the Wind's" another one, but not like "Carry On My Wayward Son." But I do. It's sad to know that Robin had passed away from pancreatic or something like that, pancreatic cancer, or something. But I had to put that one in there.
Well, at least he lived his whole life not knowing that.
Yeah.
So he didn't find out till now. He's like, oh,
Yeah,
well,
man.
okay.
I put this
And-
list together a couple of weeks ago when we were going to do this, and then he happened to pass away.
And
It's just
definitely
sad.
rest in peace to him and
Yes.
some of our other cohorts that have passed here recently.
Oh.
I don't know if I haven't actually listened to this past week's episode, and that this episode is being recorded a little bit ahead of its air date. But like it was the week before last. No, it was last week when Gary Corbett and Jeff LeBar passed away.
And Jeff LeBar.
And then we lost. Was his name Robin? Okay.
Robin Steinhardt.
That's the thing is I've known Kansas and I had the albums, but I really never knew the names. I never really got that deep.
Well, he
into
was
them.
the one that stuck out the much. He's the guy that had the full beard,
Giant fro, or
the big fro.
yeah, long curly hair.
Yep.
And played the violin. So
But yeah, he was.
Well, he wore the bib overalls too, didn't he? Was he the one that wore the bib overalls in
I don't
Kansas?
think so.
no,
There was one of them that wore bib overalls.
the lead
on it.
singer.
Okay. Bryan, your turn on number 3.
Mhm.
My number 3 would be Journey. Don't Stop Believing. I'm a huge Journey fan, but I could think of 20 other songs I'd rather listen to now than Don't Stop Believing, especially over the last few years with the whole, was it Sopranos? I never watched that show, but the whole Sopranos and stuff, it kind of revitalized that song. And yeah, I'm over Don't Stop Believing. I have stopped believing and Don't Stop Believing.
Oh, wow. and I agree. It's kind of like there's so many other great Journey songs that while it was, you wouldn't exactly call it was a super pop hit, but Wheel in the Sky is my jam from them, that's for sure. I haven't quite I'm not totally burnt on it. I think Arnell has actually kind of breathed some new life into that for me, because I really like his version of it when they redid it on that first album that he was on.
Yeah.
About 3 years ago, we went and saw Def Leppard and Journey in Louisville. Def Leppard came out, and I don't know if Joe Elliott was using backing tracks or something, because I had saw him when they opened for Kiss, prior, and his voice was kind of meh then, but he sounded great, and they had the crowd in the palm of their hands. They had the crowd turned to 11. Journey came out, and I have no problem with replacement members, in bands. But so I had no problem with Arnell, but it was like every other, or in between songs was either a Jonathan Cain or Neil Sean solo. Almost every song it was horrible. They totally brought the air out of the Yum Center. I mean, they just took the crowd totally out of it. It was like, so I'm sitting there like, again? I mean, are you serious? I mean, it was sad. So I know they're going to be touring here again and stuff. And I have no interest in seeing Journey again.
The new song's pretty good. I really like the new song that they've got.
Yeah. Well, I knew they were, I haven't heard it yet, but anyway.
And the funny thing is Arnell really doesn't sound like Steve Perry at all on the new one.
Ooh, I'll have to check that
It's
out.
a really good track. It's actually available on A2ZRadio.net.
Oh, there you shameless plug again.
Okay, so my number 3, we mentioned the Eagles earlier. And, after all the funny business, my number 3 is Sunset Grill by Don Henley.
Oh,
Uh, of course, that's the thing is Don Henley and Glenn Frey, when they both came out with solo albums after the Eagles, that sounded absolutely nothing like the Eagles. I did like Glenn Frey's stuff a little better. He was a little more rock and roll. I do like Dirty Laundry, which I think has 2 of the best guitar solos on the planet in the same song. One from Joe Walsh and the other one from Danny Korchmar. But Sunset Grill, it's one of those things where if you, this kind of gets worsened by Henley's current state of affairs, where he actually tries to squash all the people who even share his music. And, if we weren't paying royalties to him, he'd be squashing us too.
Right.
But, where he just basically is a dickhead. That's no real other way to put it. But if you listen to Sunset Grill, the lyrics go through and they're basically people watching. Of course, that's not what they called it back in the 80s. But they were, let's watch the working girls go by. When, he just kind of picks out little things just for him. It's basically an album of a song of prejudice, because he's prejudging everybody from just what he's looking at.
Yep.
If he sees the working girl go by, he doesn't know anything about the working girl other than what she's doing at that precise moment.
Right.
And then it rolls around to like the last verse, and it's really ironic, the last verse of it, because he said, he basically implies, well, let's pack up and get away. He goes, what are we going to do with all these jerks around here? And then they said, but by the way, all our friends are here. So basically all the people he's slagging on all through the way, he's like, well, we call them friends too. So it's kind of, it just sends a real bad mixed message to me. And even though he's singing smooth and it's got a decent melody to it and an awful drum machine, I think that I just think it sends a mixed message that I just don't like Don Henley anymore for the song myself.
That's one we don't hear on the radio much up here. I mean, I've got it on my iPod, but our local radio station, it's not much on his solo stuff. Now, if it was with the Eagles, yes, they'd play every bit of it.
Yeah, I heard it a lot in California, but of course, I don't, the last few years, I don't listen to a lot of just regular radio, broadcast radio. So,
well, Jack FM in Dayton played it a lot. And as much as I hate to say it, A to Z Radio plays it a lot. But, that's just kind of the thing about it. And that's the thing is, me and Al, we've had, we programmed the station along with our partner, Jeff, which you guys have met and, or will meet in Nashville. And, I'll say, oh, I hate that song. And Al will say, well, take it down. And it's like, well, no, even though I hate it, somebody else may like it.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's there's a lot of songs that I may not want to hear, but I'll go ahead and go, well, if a listener digs it, the listener digs it. And if somebody says, hey, I haven't heard Sunset Grill since, the 90s or something, and then maybe they'll tune back in. So I kind of tolerate it for that reason. But outside of that, I wouldn't download the single, to be honest with you.
All right. Are we up to number 2?
Number 2, Dave.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of Bryan. My number 2 is Stairway to Heaven. I've heard it enough. The song is great. I love Robert Plant, his voice in that song, but it's just, you can't listen to it anymore. It's just, I'm done. It's just when you hear a song like that, just, I don't know, radio, those songs are almost longer form songs. A lot of people like to call those longer songs bathroom break songs, but it seemed like it was every hour and a half, you'd hear it almost on the local rock station.
Yeah, that's like I said, I knew I would hear it every week between it and Hotel California. That it was guaranteed to hear it on Saturday night. And like Bryan said about the countdown, it was always number one.
It was
for
always number
so
one.
long. I can't even remember how I think Van Halen knocked it out of the number one spot in Dayton one year. And I can't remember how long it took for that to happen. And it was knocked out by something like Jump. It's kind of, but
don't get me wrong, I love Led Zeppelin. It was, when I got started in rock and roll, it was my brothers that turned me on to the Beatles. And then I found Led Zeppelin from the Beatles, which led me to Kiss. So that's my little rabbit hole to rock and roll. I've always loved Led Zeppelin, but I guess since I've found them at a young age, you've heard it so much in 40 years, you don't want to hear it anymore.
Okay, Bryan, you're number two.
My number two is I'm gonna say it. Nirvana. Well, no, you guys probably agree. Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. To me, I mean, it was an okay song. I really wasn't into Nirvana. I really liked the Foo Fighters. I like Dave Grohl, but I'm kind of bitter with Nirvana because they kind of helped kill hair metal. Is like probably my favorite version of music or genre of music is hair metal. But everything about it. Now I loved Weird Al's version. But I'm not just, if I never hear it again, I'd be happy.
Okay.
It's a good song, but like he says, I wasn't a big Nirvana fan either. I mean, I have that album. I guess the only one I've got. And like I say, I just get burned out on it because when the grunge movement hit, that song was played continuously on radio stations because that's what they wanted to hear.
I was actually in bands when that came out, and it seemed like every time you'd go see a bar band, if they were going to play a Nirvana song, they would play that. Mm-hmm. I became a bit of a Nirvana fan. I actually like they had an album they put out between the first two. It was called Incesticide, and it was like some demos and a couple of the EPs that they put out on Sub Pop before they got signed to the big record deal. So they re-released it on this Incesticide, and I really like that stuff a lot better. But the one thing that I really dug about Nirvana, being a bass player, was it was always really 4 on the floor, just pounding drums. And like Teen Spirit definitely had that. A funny thing about Teen Spirit is when I was in my band Freezer Burn in the early 90s, we were trying to ride the coattails of what was going on with Nirvana. And I wrote a song called Got Me Scared, but the riff to it was dun 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 dun. It was actually Teen Spirit backwards. Yeah. Oh, so I'll hook you guys up with cassettes when we get to Nashville, but the title of the song is actually TSB, and then in parentheses, it's Got Me Scared. And if you listen to it, it's actually the Teen Spirit riff backwards during the choruses.
That'd be cool.
And the funny thing was, it was kind of like a mismatch of all kinds of 90s stuff, because I was kind of singing I sang the lead vocal on it, and I was kind of singing like Les Claypool from Primus, who I was really crazy about in the 90s. And so here I was like, just talking nonsense and shit during the verses. But yeah, I managed to rip off Teen Spirit. So I like it a lot better backwards than I do forwards, but I still like it a little bit. But it's not my favorite Nirvana song by any means. So for my number two, my phone keeps going to sleep. This is one, and John Lamoureux is going to hate me for this one.
Uh-oh.
But it actually kind of ties into the Sunset Grill one too. It's Just the Way It Is by Bruce Hornsby and the Range.
I can't stand
it. Amen, brother. Amen. It's when it came out, I was probably just about to graduate high school or had just graduated high school. And if you were like listening to rock radio and granted, rock, it did get played on rock radio. It got played on pop and rock radio. And if you would be on a really good run where you'd hear some Rat and some Dokken and some Motley Crue, and then they would play Bruce Hornsby. And the last thing I wanted in the late 80s was social commentary of that nature in my rock and roll.
Yeah.
I was actually subscribing to what the guys in KISS used to say back in the day. It's like, we're entertainers. We don't need to be politicians. Now we know that's all changed now, 30 years later. But, it's kind of like, okay. And I agree that, you raise awareness by doing things like that in a musical piece, but it's just not what I wanted in a pop song. And it's just not I wanted, in any form of entertainment. And for what it's worth, he hates the song himself.
Oh my gosh.
I know I'm a faithful listener of The Hustle with John Lamoureux.
Yeah.
And he's been to Bruce Hornsby shows where Bruce Hornsby didn't even play the song because he doesn't want to. It's like, okay, well, that's not even owning up to what what you've composed or whatever, but that's not even
did to everybody else.
Yeah. It's like, you got people that's paying, anywhere from $35 to $100 a ticket, and you don't play the song that got them there, whatever. But yeah, Bruce Hornsby is my number 2, and some things will never change.
That's a good segue. For number 1, folks, mine. And I know, being down a little further in the South than you gentlemen, I got tired of this. Is my all-time worst song. I'll turn it off every time. Is Leonard Skinner's "Freebird." I am so burnt on Leonard Skinner's "Freebird." I don't know. It's just I like the group, but I just, after a while, that's all you heard. Southern rock, you heard from a lot from them. Molly Hatchet, when I was in high school, Molly Hatchet, Leonard Skinner, Allman Brothers. I got burnt out on all of that Southern rock. But Freebird stood out as the top for me. I can't listen to it no more.
I don't know if I'm burnt out on it. I think because I relate it to the horrible airplane accident and everything. So I think because of that, I haven't got burnt out on it. But I could see where, especially you live. I mean, I grew up in Southern California, and now, I mean, stations I listen to, I don't hear it. So you probably heard it way more than I did. So
yeah, when the local rock station here when I was in high school, WKDF, which is now, they used to play it all the time. They played all the Southern rock a lot, and you heard it, at least once or twice a day.
Now, and that's the thing is, I grew up, that was one of the first Skynyrd songs I'd ever heard. A buddy of mine, he actually had the first Skynyrd album, the same buddy that we was listening to the Rolling Stones with. And so here we were digging it. And, we didn't listen to Freebird that much because I was way too into I Ain't the One when I didn't even know what I Ain't the One's all about. It's about knocking some chick up. But, it was like Freebird was kind of like okay, well, yeah, that's a pretty song and this, that, and the other. The live version was much better than the studio version on the first album. And I don't know how Southern people, I'm in Southern Ohio.
Yeah.
So really the only thing I'm Southern to is Canada, pretty much, or Michigan. But that is our band staple around here. I mean, it gets played every Saturday night at the bar. People beg for it and people play it. And there was actually a point where I was playing in a band where it was actually a Southern rock band. And I was just kind of sitting in with the guys. And I had this big bass amp that I'd go ahead and play guitar through. and it had this real, just kind of dirty, dirgy sound. And we worked up a version of Freebird that was almost like as if Metallica had done it, or like what you would think that Metallica had done before the Black Album. So it had, a real heavy kind of doomy sound to it. And then it was just like a metal assault at the end of the song. So if I was to play it, I would rather play it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a favorite Skynyrd song, but and I probably would skip it if I knew there was an option to go to, to hear something different, or maybe just turn it down to where I didn't hear it for a few minutes and then turn something back up later. Bryan, was that your number one?
No, that was mine.
Okay.
My number one we've kind of already covered was Rock and Roll All Night. So I'm going to use my time to bring something up, which kind of includes Kiss, but it's actually news that I just popped in my head just a little bit ago. But next, or on Wednesday, July 28th, Live Nation is selling $20 tickets for a number of big shows. Now, I don't know if it's going to be every date, every city, or whatever, but you've got Alice Cooper. I'm looking for bands that we would relate to. Alice Cooper, Judas Priest, Kiss, Korn, Leonard Skynyrd, which we just brought up, Megadeth, Primus, Rage Against the Machine, Slipknot, Doobie Brothers. Yeah, there's lots of country and some other acts too, but $20 tickets on Live Nation starting at
28.
Yeah, on 28th, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern time. He that happens to catch this, grab you some tickets.
Maybe I'll be in Dayton after all.
Yeah, that's one reason I thought of that. I'm like, if I bring that up, maybe Bill will go.
Yeah. Hell, for $100, I could take the whole fam damnly.
Well, well, $20 tickets, you probably got to add $40 a ticket service fees. So
yeah. Well, that's the thing is when I went to the show in Columbus for the beginning of the End of the Road, it worked out to where $600 for 5 seats. And that was in the middle bowl in the back of the Schottenstein Center in Columbus. Now, when me and Bryan went to the one in Fort Wayne, almost a year to the day, it was like 10 days away from being a year to the day. I had a $117 ticket and I was in the 18th row on the floor.
Wow.
So, and the dude in front of me is like, I paid $300 a piece for these tickets and I can't even see. It's like, dude, I paid $100. I feel sorry for you, dude.
I think ours was like 95 a piece.
But now, since you've mentioned those bands, I want to say right now that I refuse to see Megadeth again. Because I saw a chick one time and Dave Mustaine does not want me anywhere near there then.
Good thing for filters, huh?
Yeah. Gives that special effect.
He doesn't want my kind around, So if he's going to fire his bass player for it, then he doesn't even want me as a customer. Mm-hmm. I'm glad. I hope my granddaughter didn't. Okay, so my number one.
We didn't get his. Oh, did we get yours?
Yeah, Rock and Roll All Night.
That's right. That's right. He just glossed over it. I forgot.
Yeah. No, he embellished it. He said, if you really want to hear Rock and Roll All Night, go online next week and get a $20 ticket. So, okay, mine is so far. Let's see. As Steve Wright likes to say, this is out of format for the Ages of Rock podcast, but this is my most hated song. Most of mine were pop songs anyway, but my most hated song, and I've destroyed radios when this came on, and it was It's Raining Men by the Weather Girls.
Okay.
I have literally.
I actually found a copy of that 45 in Alan's room right here.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you look hard enough, I think he's got the 12-inch maxi single too.
The only 12-inch thing he's got.
Oh my God! Boom!
I remember when Jack FM came to Dayton, and I was working in a little town, Brookville, between where I live now and Dayton. And it was the greatest thing ever. You know, there was like, there was one song, and let's bring up an honorable mention if you've got any of them after this. But for some reason, they felt the need to play the Weather Girls like 3 times in an 8-hour shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up going to a 12-hour shift at the shop. So I was, you know, I had my little white boombox radio sitting in my machine, just blasting and jamming, you know, and you'd hear everything from, you know, Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone to Brown Sugar to everything else. And then you'd hear the girl go, "Oh, hell, it's raining." And then it's like, "Oh, hell no."
No.
I literally took the boombox, pulled it from the plug, and smashed it in the floor after having heard that song too many times.
Oh,
So
my gosh.
that is my most hated song.
Oh, well, I don't know if we can top that one or not.
Well, I got an honorable mention then.
Yeah.
Achy, Breaky, Heart. They were playing that on regular radio. I mean, I like country music. I'm actually probably a huge fan, because for me, Kiss is as 1A and Brooks and Dunn are 1B. But yeah, oh my gosh! And then the video, and
anything he did, I couldn't
they
stand.
played that damn song over and over and over. You couldn't get away from it.
Kind of like Elvira back in the day from the Oak Ridge
Yeah.
Boys.
Yep.
Yeah, I heard Elvira on the station the other day, and I was like, yeah, I'm not ready for that again yet. It's like, I haven't heard it since 1979, but I'm not ready for that one yet.
No.
But yeah, Achy Breaky. I'm with you, Bryan, because I remember that you would hear it on the country station, you'd hear it on the pop station. I think it went number 1 on pop radio in the top 40. And they just play. It seemed like they were playing it every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that, you know, you ended up going down well, that probably could have helped propel the metal resurgent, you know, where people started, let's listen to Judas Priest so we don't have to listen to Achy Breaky Heart again. So,
Oh man,
you got an honorable mention, Dave?
I do. This one is one that, you know, I can't listen to anymore, and it's from Queen. We Are the Champions. I mean, you hear that in stadiums. You hear, you know, on the radio all the time. It's just they play it so much you get tired of hearing it.
Yeah, I just heard that today.
It's what I would like if I'm listening to the greatest hits. There's a lot of good stuff on the greatest hits set.
Yeah,
but I would be prone to probably skip We Are the Champion just to get to something. I think like on mine, I think that Now I'm Here is right after We Are the Champions, and that's my jam. You know, I just love that one by Queen. So I would, you know,
I love Queen, but
I'll listen to that later.
I'm just tired of We Are the Champions.
Yeah.
Just real fast, Achy Breaky was number 1 on the country charts and number 4 on the Billboard Top 100.
Okay.
Dang.
Bryan Harris with the lightning fast research.
Yeah.
Casey Kasem.
I hope I pointed the right direction, because that's which way I'm pointing on my screen. Okay, so I do have an honorable mention, and it actually kind of goes along with the Weather Girls one, because it was a song that I'd never really heard until Jack FM came to Dayton. But it was called In the Year 2525.
No.
You guys remember that one?
Yes, I remember that song.
Oh my God. It seemed like it was 45 minutes long. And it was just like, it's almost like listening to somebody describing a car crash and bleeding to death and stuff like that. It's just kind of like, no, I don't want to hear this anymore. But the Weather Girls definitely trumped that one out. So.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's what we got. So we got.
Thought maybe he had another one.
No, they're gonna not let us take over anymore. We run too long.
Oh, man.
So that's what we got for today. If you want to see the real Ages of Rock program, tune into agesofrock.com. Go to their YouTube channel and subscribe. like their page on Facebook, and you can like these two guys' faces on the book too. And you might even like me. I don't know. I guess that's what we got. So until
one thing.
Okay.
I want to speak to everybody that's listening to the Ages of Rock. If you're thinking about coming to Nashville in August 6th through the 8th, Rockin' Pod, if you do not come, you're going to miss out on one of the, it's going to be epic. And
depending on when this show's broadcast, it might be this coming weekend.
Yeah. But
I got a feeling this is going to drop right before we go to Rockin' Pod.
If you don't, go get your tickets, Nashville Rockin' Pod. That's ROCKNPOD expo.com. Get your tickets. And look at the lineup that's going to be there. The pre-party on Friday, Resist and Bite. I just found out a friend of mine on Facebook, the lead singer of Steel City, Mr. Roy Cathy, they're going to be playing at the pre-party.
Oh, awesome.
Steel City is really good.
Cool.
He's, I'm trying to think of where he's from. I can't think off the top of my head, but they're coming. Resist and Bite, Tony Skio from former Tesla. Oh man.
And if you haven't heard their two tracks, they're available on AtoZRadio.net.
There's that plug.
They've both been fresh cuts, and they're regularly played on a regular basis on A to Z Radio.
But it's going to be
doing an acoustic set.
Yeah, Ron Keel is going to be doing acoustic. And it's going to be good. He's got Chris Czynszak has gone. I mean, you didn't think he could get any better, but he is really, since we didn't have it last year because of COVID,
he doubled up.
He's doubled up. You're right. So, folks, you need to come to Nashville and enjoy the expo and the concert Friday night, and then the comedy show on Sunday.
And the feature movie on Saturday night.
I heard him say that those tickets are almost gone.
I believe it.
I bought two.
Rockin' Pod.
Al should probably drop an ad for that right after this.
Well, so just come on down. The city of Nashville welcomes you. We can't wait.
Can't wait to see you guys.
Yep.
So that's all we've got for this episode of the Ages of Rock, or the AARP of Rock. And if you want to tune in to see the real guys, go to agesofrock.com. Check out their YouTube page, like them on Facebook. You can like Bryan and David on Facebook, and you can even like me if you really want to do that. But I don't know if I'd recommend that. So until the other guys see you again, peace out, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.